Hi everyone, this is Karen from Online Healing Community. Welcome to Creating Space. This is a space for us to share stories and reflections related to personal growth and healing. Today we're going to talk about how to open your heart when you are hurting. And all of us have gone through pain. You're probably going through one right now. And most of the time, we know exactly what to do, but it's just so difficult to shift, especially when you're in the middle of a personal crisis. So today, HeartMath trainer and resilience teacher Weng Ebdani-Suarez will teach us how to tap into the power of our heart when we're going through challenges and hurt and pain. So, friends, this is going to be a very interesting discussion. I know everyone can relate to this. So, friends, everybody, please welcome Wang Ebdani-Suarez. Hi,
Hi,
Wang.
Karen.
Welcome to Creating
Hello.
Space.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be an intimate conversation. And right now, I would like to really thank you for being open to talk about pain and hurt. And you know, Wang, when we're going through challenges, bakit kaya it's so hard and it's so difficult to solve it, even when we know exactly what to do to get out of the situation? You wrote about this. You had an article at LinkedIn. You said, we know we have to be grateful, but we just can't stay with gratitude. We know we are loved and that we love, but we just can't seem to sustain the feeling of love in our hearts. Something sucks us into a swirling current and off we go into the dark. Sometimes for a brief moment, sometimes for longer. Grabe ang poetic mo. Ramdam na ramdam ko yung sinulat mo.
Yeah. Medyo nag-fluctuate ata yung connection mo, but I think
Yeah.
I perfectly got what you said. The last thing that I heard was yung when you were reading what I wrote about, sometimes for a brief period of time, sometimes for longer, and then I lost you there. And then you said ramdam na ramdam mo yun. Did you have a
Mm.
question around that?
Yeah. Why is it so difficult for us to shift even when we know exactly what to do, even if we have the solution? But when we're in the middle of a challenge or a crisis,
Mm,
we can't shift and we can't move forward, even if
mm.
we know cognitively what to do.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so this is related to the levels of resilience that we have, no? Some of us have low resilience, some of us have a higher level of resilience, and oftentimes when people have gone through difficult experiences, especially if people have gone through trauma, then it leads to a lower level of resilience talaga. And there in the heart math language, there's something physiological that happens there. The responses of anxiety, for example, or fear, or extended period of sadness or grief, all of these emotional states, nare-remember ito ng nervous system natin. So if we have been used to these feelings, it's always there, right? And oftentimes, when we do a cognitive way of regulating it, like when you
Mhm.
mentally tell yourself you have to be grateful, or you have to look at the brighter side of life, or I mean, you have to be grateful because you still have a job, for example, in the context of the pandemic. But
Mhm.
oftentimes, that is not enough to override that emotional response that has already been there and been remembered by the system. So um, oftentimes you
Yes.
need a stronger input, a stronger signal, so that then you can really transform it. So um, one of the ways in which you may be able to actually override that signal is to then regulate the emotion through the heart, because science says now, the new sciences say that the
Yes.
heart actually sends far more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. So pag yung ginagawa mo is, Karen, you should stop thinking about it. You should stop worrying about it. I mean, there are many
Yes.
things to be grateful for. Most of the time, it doesn't work. The more that you tell
Mm.
yourself that you should stop worrying about it, you just can't stop thinking about it because you're doing it
Yeah.
mentally. You are mentally
Yes.
conditioning, you are mentally telling yourself, and it doesn't work
Mhm.
because it's already there in the system. So
Right.
um, that's mainly the reason why it's so difficult to shift, or maybe when you're able to shift, you just can't sustain it. So
Right.
one level of it is really physiological.
Right. So you're saying that the body remembers the anxiety and the pain and this emotions. So
It does,
even if
definitely.
you keep on telling your mind, I should be grateful, I should look at the bright side, the brighter side of things, it can't go there because physiologically, your emotions override your cognition.
It is already there. Yeah. It
Right.
has, yeah, it has been remembered because if you have been used to responding with worry, or if you have been used to responding with fear, it becomes the more familiar response. So when you're in a situation that's difficult, what your system remembers is you respond with anxiety. So it picks anxiety, it picks fear to respond to that difficult situation. And when that happens, we know that the more that it's so difficult to shift. Or maybe
You
you
know
may
what?
be able to. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, I understand. Oh, sorry, I got excited because um I don't know, something happened to me while I was working on online healing community. Um my I don't know really what happened. Like I couldn't explain it in a way because we started it right off the bat, right after COVID-19. And that was like March right away. March 15th, that weekend we're on. And then we've been continuing doing the project every week. But then come May, I felt a trigger when we started doing this programs for because we have to be sustainable. And then just anxiety happened. I don't know where it came from, but I'm so excited all throughout March, April, and then come May, when we started getting energy exchange,
Hmm.
biglang my system. To be honest, my system collapsed. I was afraid. I don't know what I was feeling, but I was so up at night. I couldn't sleep.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
slowly, and I didn't know. I've been doing the same thing over and over again. It's just that this time there's an energy exchange. And like that went on for
Hmm.
like 2 months until I had to figure it out. Now, you know what? It's okay. There should be a give and take, give and take. And then, and then I realized that every time when I'm doing something big, that's the usual response of my body. If I'm doing something big, if my body sense that I'm doing something big or something new or something bigger than me, it's the same response. Some kind of an anxiety attack all the
Hmm.
time. So that's what you're saying.
Yes, yes. There's a solid science behind that, and I discussed this in my workshop. There's a certain part of the brain that remembers all of these input or situation. For example,
Right,
something big, right? That's a
right,
familiar situation. So your system remembers it, something big. And then
right,
if your system has been used to responding with anxiety to something big, when something big happens again or comes up, the system will
right.
pick the more familiar response, which is anxiety.
And
So it
when
really
I'm a meditator, like I wake up at 4 a.m. every single day to meditate, whether I sleep at 1 or whatever. And I've been trying to override it. Like, it's okay. I am relaxed. I am calm. I'm using because I'm used to the thing. I'm really used to like,
Mm,
I love working with the mind. And so I've been using all these affirmations and all this meditation, but it didn't work for me for
mm,
the last 2 months until I went to a hypnotherapist. And
mm,
then until I went to creative expression, that allowed me release. But at that moment when I was experiencing anxiety, my meditation, I'm sorry, but my meditation didn't work.
mm. No,
The
that's very
cognitive,
true.
the mindfulness.
Yeah, that's very true. And I thank you for sharing that because I know that many people are experiencing that, no? And when we don't fully understand this, sometimes we become too hard on ourselves. And uh, what I'm seeing is the practice that you're doing is basically calmness and relaxation, right? Mainly, it's
Mm-mm.
to train
Yes,
yourself
yes.
on calmness and relaxation. And we know that sometimes there are situations where maybe the emotions are just too strong, maybe the emotions are just too intense, that calmness and
Mm.
relaxation alone will not be enough. So there's
Right.
something else,
Mm.
there's another level, there's another layer that needs to be there to be able to
Right.
override that, to be able to transform that. Rather, I think transform is a very important term there.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Now I understand that when you talk about it's easier to change from the heart to the brain, that's so true. Because when I started connecting to the root cause of why I'm going there, why am I experiencing this, and looking at the belief and changing my feeling about it, that's when I started shifting and changing. All my mindfulness practice at that point didn't work.
Mm, mm,
But when you've also gone through something painful yourself, in an article you wrote one day, I thought I was already healing. Another day, it just felt so ugly. My then partner, now husband, was always there for me, holding space for me. Clearly, something to be grateful for. But there were times when the pain would reveal itself to me each time I remember what happened, and I get overcome by sadness and grief. It was difficult to sustain a feeling of love or gratitude. I couldn't feel compassion for myself because it would generate into pity. So, this is your journey to healing.
it is, it is. I think I would say that that was one of the experiences where I had to be tested, no, because here I am presenting myself to the world that I'm a heart math practitioner, I teach resilience. I had to go through that. And through that experience, I would say I understood better how it is to build resilience, but also how it is to crawl, no, to really build that muscle. Because as you know, there are some experiences where no matter how much you think you have been healed, sometimes they just really resurface, and you might find out that you haven't really been fully healed. So yes, I had to go through that to be able to, for me to be able to really say that that some people would really experience this, some people would really find it difficult, some
Yeah.
people would experience the same thing that I'm experiencing.
Okay. And you mentioned that sometimes you'll start with compassion, but you'll you'll move towards pity, and you would be
Mm.
overcome by sadness and grief. How long did this last? And what exactly does the pain look like?
Mm, yeah. I think just to set the context, no, for those who don't know the context of what I was writing about, I had
Yeah.
miscarriage in 2017. And you know, experiences like that are experiences where, you know, sometimes you really get overcome by immense sadness or by grief. And part of my practice was when I try to to connect with gratitude and love, and I cannot seem to do it, I would try to activate compassion for myself. But experiences like this, sometimes if the emotion has not been fully processed, no, and if it is really still in the body, especially, uh, compassion could degenerate into pity. And you would know that difference if you close your eyes. Compassion is very renewing, it recharges you, but pity is something that depletes you and exhausts you. So if my body is still not ready, and if those emotions, if those experiences have still not been processed, uh, then definitely it will really degenerate. I will have difficulty renewing my emotions. I will have difficulty transforming it, and that's what I had to go through in that process.
Right. So you talk about transforming emotions, renewing emotions, right? What's a practical example of that?
Mm. In the HeartMath language, we don't call emotions as either positive or negative. We call it based on whether or not it depletes your energy or if it renews your energy. So, for example, if you feel gratitude, let's say you spend focused time on gratitude while you are writing, no, or while you are talking to somebody. When you feel gratitude and you notice that gratitude, or whenever you feel love, that is a renewing emotion because it renews you, it recharges you, and
Right,
physiologically, it really adds energy to your system. But
right,
if you
right,
are feeling uh, maybe fear or worry or concern, if not anxiety, or maybe even just resentment, or discouragement, these are
right,
emotions that deplete you.
right,
They take energy from your system. There is an
right.
energy that leaks out from your system, and it can really deplete you. So these are examples of depleting and renewing emotions.
So heart math is about tapping into renewing energies and decreasing depleting energies.
Yes, you use no, the level that I was talking about kanina. I said maybe because I don't really know, what exactly your case was or your situation was. Maybe the what you were trying to do as a practice, or as an intervention, was plainly giving you relaxation or calmness.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not sure. So if
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
the case, there has to be another layer. There has to be a level that is deeper than just relaxation. Because apparently, if stronger ang emotional reactions mo, hindi siya enough. So
right, right,
you tap. We will use that term. You can tap into renewing energy by
right,
connecting with renewing emotions, so that then it can
right,
add energy to your system. So yes, the heart math techniques specifically look like that. We use the heart and the emotions to be able to put you into a state of coherence. So
right,
coherence is the alignment of the heart, the mind, and the emotions. And pag align, for example, ang heart and mind mo, maybe in the situation that you experienced, when you said there's something big, I mean, you're supposed to be excited. Deep inside your
yeah,
heart, you know that you really want it, that is connected to a bigger vision, and that is
yeah,
connected to the service that you really want to offer to the world. Your heart knows that, right?
yeah,
But the mind is saying, Karen, this is such a huge task. Karen,
yes,
this is too ambitious. Or Karen, that is too risky. Or Karen, this hasn't been tried yet. Hindi sila aligned, right? So
right, right,
when you
right.
use when you use heart math techniques to shift into coherence, it aligns the heart and the mind. And remember, kanina
Mm,
sabi ko, the heart sends far more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. So the heart really
right,
has the power. It has the power to transform that, to align it, so that then the brain can really understand what the heart is trying to say. And we know it from
right,
ancient traditions. They say that there's a higher intelligence that really resides from the heart. We're not
Right.
saying that the brain is not useful. The brain
Right.
is a very useful resource. That there is a kind of intelligence and wisdom that comes from the heart that you cannot get to enlighten you in that situation when you are just mentally thinking or cognitively
Yes.
thinking.
Right, right. I completely agree with that. Like sometimes when your brain is full of worry and fear, it's kind of hard to override that. Even if you say, "No, I will be calm. I will be calm. This is okay." It's sometimes it's not enough. And so you have to that's what you're saying. You have to tap into the power of their heart and use the heart to override the brain, right? Galing.
Or to align it rather.
Not
Yeah,
yeah, align it.
it would be quite complex to explain this right now, but
But you
very
have an
briefly.
anecdote. You have an anecdote. Remember you talked to me about your niece? Like when you were in pain, you're going through grief, but you saw this niece and you're able to activate joy
Mm,
immediately.
yeah, yeah, I remember that. So, yun nga, uh, that experience that I shared earlier, times like that, no, it's just so difficult to be grateful, as I said in the article that you read. It's so difficult to connect with love, even if you know that you are loved or that you love this person or this loved one. Even if you know that you have a roof over your head and everything is being provided for you, you know that, right? But it's so difficult to connect with it. And times like that, parang you cannot really will yourself to just focus on those things. So to me, I it reached a point where I would sit to do my meditation using a heart math technique, and I would sit there in quiet, activate a feeling of gratitude and love, and then 1 minute or 2 minutes I would stop because I would end up crying. So that was truly difficult for me. So I had to keep on trying. And there was one time I stopped it because that's what I do, and I think that this is what everybody should also try doing. If you cannot seem to will yourself to feel gratitude or love, don't force it, Muna. Give yourself time, right? But try again. So there was this one time I was doing that exercise and then I couldn't. So I stopped, and then I was about to go down the stairs to get water, and as I was going down the stairs I saw my niece there. She was down there, and she was very playful, very cheerful. She was calling me, and she was trying to show me something or to tell me something. And you know, when something like that happens, you cannot help but feel joy in your heart. No
Yes.
matter how bleak the situation is, there was a spark of joy. But I would say, Ka, that it really requires that internal awareness. And this is one aspect that we really have to train ourselves on. So I noticed that there was joy that left out of my heart. So when I
Yeah.
was on my way back, I was going up the stairs again. I was recreating the feeling of joy. This is part of a heart math technique also. I was
Yes.
recreating that consciously. When I got
Right.
back at my desk, because I was working from home during that time,
Yes.
when I sat down, I closed my eyes. I did my exercise, and I activated joy. I recreated the joy that I was feeling while I
Right.
saw my niece there being very cheerful. And then it was there. I was surprised. Oh, it's here. and and I would say
Right.
na during difficult times, minsan, um, when it's so difficult to feel the bigger emotions, it's okay. Try to
Mm,
notice the smaller ones, and you don't have to fake it. You don't have to force yourself, but it will create attention. And this is also why I would say now, while heart math can enrich mindfulness or any other modalities, mindfulness and
yes.
other modalities can also enrich your
I
heart math
agree.
practice, because
Yes.
mindfulness also trains your attention, right? So
Yes.
if you have
Yes.
trained yourself on attention, then maybe you can also it can also help you notice, no, right away whatever is going on. So um yeah, that's what I did. I saw that it was there, and then I
Right.
kept on doing it again until suddenly one day I just noticed I can connect with gratitude again. I can connect with love again. I can connect with compassion again without ending up crying, without breaking down. So to me, that is really the gesture of the heart opening. And
Right.
minsan,
So, yeah. And means
sometimes it
I'm
has to be slowly.
yes. And sometimes it has to be done slowly, you're saying?
Sometimes it has to take its own time. Um, I would say so. Yeah. And this is where it really needs a lot of compassion, because our process of healing looks differently. Some can heal very quickly, no? Some might take some more time. They might need some more time. So it needs a lot of compassion. But yes, that's how healing looked like for me. But I really had to do the work. Um, I was also happy because I already had a level of practice back then.
Right.
I would say that I had an understanding of the process. Now, when I try to sit down and whenever I'm not doing anything, and then suddenly the pain comes back, I understood that that's really part of the process. I understood that what I needed to do was to keep on trying again, to keep on doing my practice so that eventually the heart would really open.
And you started by noticing joy or finding joy in simple things.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I I know that a lot of people experience this, no? I've had workshops where a participant would say, I really can't find anything. There's really nothing. How about in your childhood? No, because my childhood has really been very bad, no? But this one participant is an accomplished professional. Now, with of course, without mentioning his name, um, there was one participant in my workshop who was an architect, and he was telling me, I think I have depression, and of course, he didn't know whether it was clinical or not, and I asked him if he could think of any renewing experience that he can reconnect with in the practice, in the exercise, and he said he couldn't. Wala talaga. So I said,
Mm.
how do you feel whenever you are working on a design? Whenever you see the design unfolding? And he said, oh yeah, I feel accomplished. There's a feeling of
Mm.
fulfillment, and that is a real feeling. If I let you close your eyes, and if I let you re-experience the feeling of fulfillment that you get when somebody gives you a feedback that online healing community is really helping them, you feel that in your heart. So that is
Yeah.
how he connected. I hooked him up to the HeartMath device. It is here pala. There's a HeartMath device that will tell you whether you were able to shift into coherence or not. No,
Why
as
not?
a way of training. Not that you
Right.
have to depend on this, but if some people really need training and they need validation for them to see that they are really doing it properly. So I hooked him up to the device and we saw it. He shifted into
Mm.
coherence. So that was a huge encouragement for him because for so many years he thought he could no longer connect with anything emotionally vibrant. And then here it is, a very simple example, a very common experience for him, but he hasn't been noticing it. And now it is actually showing him that he still has the inner resources papala to actually
Right.
reconnect and open his heart.
Yeah. But I wanna notice and I wanna point out that sometimes that for that particular incident, he didn't notice the fulfillment. He didn't notice that he can get emotional vibrancy, like we said, from just looking back at the design. And sometimes, so we need that. Like in that moment, you were the coach and you were the one telling him, you know what, if you really can't find it, you can do this.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, because it will be difficult for people who have gone through trauma. No, there are different
Mm,
layers that still needs to be worked on. Also, um, if they have been used to depleting situations and that is all that they could think of, that is all that they experience, then it makes sense that they will not remember or that they will not notice it.
so it's about remembering and connecting to like you said, energies which renew you.
It's part of the process. When
Yes.
I maybe later we can do it, no, when we do a heart math technique, the first step is activating the physiological heart so that you can trigger that process of the heart sending that signal to the brain.
The
So that is the
brain. Yeah.
first step.
Right.
Re-experiencing that renewing feeling or that renewing emotion is part of the process. You add it because if you don't add a renewing experience or
Right.
a renewing emotion, maybe what you will get is would be plain relaxation, plain calmness, and it can be
Yes.
helpful. Except some situations might actually need something deeper than
Right. When there are a lot of healing modalities, why did you choose heart math?
that. You know what? I didn't choose it. I don't remember choosing it. I was aware of different other modalities, but I think I intuited it. No, there was a time in 2016 when, oh, we know, a year after the presidential elections in the Philippines, people couldn't seem to talk without ending up fighting. People will just argue, whether that's in the family at homes or whether the barcadas, no, or in the workplace, in the community. And in fact, I also noticed that people in the community, my friends in the community development
Yeah.
work, those who really mean well, who are very selfless when it comes to contributing their time and effort for the better, to serve others. Even them, I noticed that there was conflict, um, there was a rift, and
Mm,
during that time, I was doing a visioning exercise, and I said, I need a
yeah.
tool that will help me facilitate conversations, that will help me bridge people and bridge differences and bridge perspectives. And
Right.
so I intuited it. Heart math
Yeah.
came to me in that visioning. Although I've seen heart math in 2013, it was only that time when I said, you know, um, this is what I need. And I
Right.
think you understand when when you undergo a certain process that is intuitive, you don't do a choosing, you don't rationalize it. It really just comes to you, and this is what I also always say, no, na the heart really has an intelligence that is um, higher or bigger than what the brain alone can actually give you. If I chose it, I would have analyzed it and wanting to figure it out. um I would have been maybe overthink ako, but no, I didn't. It was an intuitive process, and it was given to me in that intuitive process.
Mm. So it called you in a way.
it I would say,
Yeah.
that I was guided, that it was what
Mm,
I needed to the call that I was wanting to answer. Because to me, when difficult situations like that happen, when uh there's something in the, like in the that I have community development work, no, sustainable
yes. Yes.
development. When things like that happen, my question is, so what can we do? What do we do? What is the
Right.
alternative? So to me, that's what I needed to be able to respond to the call, to the challenge of the
Right.
time.
Right. So hard math helped you facilitate communication at that time.
Yes, I would say in the beginning, I thought that that was the only reason why I had to take heart math. But you
Yeah.
know how it is when you embrace a path, when you say yes to something, you don't fully see the road ahead. You don't fully
Right.
see what's there. So yun, months after I had my training, and then that's when I saw the scope of it. That's when I saw the science behind what HeartMath has been doing. And that's when I saw that it was more than what I thought HeartMath was.
Yeah.
It was more than stress management and emotional regulation. It was more than regulating emotions and managing the stress to be able to communicate fully and with presence. HeartMath studied the science of intuition. HeartMath studied the science behind sustaining behavior. So I saw a lot, and then that's when it really unfolded. That's when I saw, okay, so this is what I was being called to respond to pala. It wasn't just
Right.
what I thought was to facilitate conversations, because I
Mm.
wanted to be able to bridge and harmonize perspectives and people. Meron pa pala, marami pa pala. And then the experiences that I experienced, like the one that I shared earlier, um, to me, one of the messages was, oh, so this is what I am being called to teach people, to share with
Mm.
people, to help them overcome, to help them with the healing process, to help them become more resilient. That's yun. It's correct pala, no? I just remembered a quote, a just in lang, na
Yes.
something like, you don't know the path, and the path doesn't reveal itself until you have walked it. So I think that's what happened to me.
It's true. The path doesn't reveal
Reveals
itself
itself,
until
yeah,
you walk.
until you have, exact.
Until you walk it. That's beautiful. But also in your story, you're the first one which heart math helped. You're the first beneficiary. And
Ah, um, you mean the heart math trainer, as a heart
the
math trainer?
yeah, you use like you said, you use the heart math approach to help you deal with your pain. And because you're
Ah,
saying
okay, yeah.
you got it so you can promote social change in a way. But then it became very personal. It
That- that's very insightful. Yeah, you know what? I never put it into words like that, like you did. Yeah, I
you're
was. So, yun nga, that's also why, um, many times, no, uh, we might think that the experiences we experience are senseless or meaningless, or um, we might think we don't deserve it, until we actually see the message. So, to me, the experience that I shared, for example, was an experience that was needed for me to be able to deserve to to go out in the world and offer my service, right? If I have not gone through that, um, I will not have the integrity, I will not have the authenticity to be able to teach others, no. And I remember yesterday I posted, I remembered a quote from Marianne Williamson. She said, you cannot call yourself a teacher until you have completed the workbook. And I would say, you cannot call yourself a teacher until you have walked the path. You have to walk the path that you are teaching others to walk. You really have to do that. And you
you
have to
had to walk
experience.
the path before you can guide others along the path.
Definitely.
So wow, so that's the message for you.
I would say so. That was one of the things. Because experiences like miscarriage, for example, there's a lot of stigma there, no? Um, I know that many people don't talk about it. Many women don't talk about it because there's stigma. Some might ask, why did it happen to you? What did you do? Or the person experiencing it, the person suffering, might ask, why did this happen to me? I mean, why am I not deserving? Am I less of a person? Why were they able to fully carry a child until
Yeah.
birth and until a certain age, and why have I not been able to do it? So, to me, you cannot explain it if you come from the place of comparison, if you come from a place
Yeah.
of looking at some things external. But if you fully
Right.
live the experience and you process it, you will be able to harvest the message, you will be able to harvest the lesson, and you will be
Mm,
able to harvest and embrace the opportunity most especially. There's
right.
opportunity, there's always opportunity to
Right. But when I noticed, but when you start asking questions, that's the swirling current you're talking about. It's a swirling current that brings us to the dark place. And yeah, of course, nothing bad with the dark. Um, Sometimes we really have to go there, but sometimes it just sucks you down, 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 and then those questions have no answers. Why did it happen
mm,
to me? Why me? There's just no answers for those questions, and so you just go down and down and down. Oh, that's why you're
that's
saying when these things happen, you have to shift to a renewing energy. If you know that you're going to depleting energies, then you look for joy, find
yes, and
joy.
very that's correct, and very important to note that in this process you are not suppressing, but you are transforming the quality of the energy. And when you are able to transform the quality of
Right.
energy, there is science behind this, Kat. I once gave an
Yes,
introduction, I think that's in August. There, I
yes,
think
yes.
you were part of it, no? When you
Mm-mm.
transform the quality of that energy, there is an insight that comes. There is a message that flows.
Right, right. Transform the energy, and then you'll get the message. And the message will make things clear for you. Because when you're in a certain situation, I felt that whenever I'm in a challenging situation, I really feel I'm in a dark. But when a message comes, that's a light in that dark, which pulls me out. And I was thinking, oh nga, when you say look for joy, it's looking for sparks of light that can lead you out of the dark.
Of the
So
dark.
you would really advise that to connect with joy first, or just, what
Not
other
only
energy should they connect
joy,
first?
not only joy. Connect with emotions that are even below the radar. No, let me use that term, below the radar emotions. What are below the radar emotions? For example, in the experience that you shared kanina, parang you thought that you were not experiencing any form of anxiety. No, you were so fired up, you were challenged, you embraced it positively, but months after, bigla na lang,
Yeah.
something's wrong pala. Oh, there
Right.
was a possibility that there were below the radar emotions that you did not notice or did not have not paid attention to. What are they? They could be feelings of sadness, feelings of discouragement, feelings of disappointment or resentment. You see the difference? Compare these emotions to emotions like anger or rage or upset or frustration. They are high intensity emotions,
Right.
high rate
Right.
emotion, high heart rate emotions.
Right.
The ones that I mentioned kanina, resentment, discouragement, disappointment, they are the more quiet. That's the term I'm looking for when I say
Quiet
below the radar. They are
emotions.
the more quiet emotions. So on the
Yeah.
renewing side naman, if it's difficult for you to feel the high intensity, high heart rate emotions like love and gratitude, you might want to pay attention and start reconnecting with the more quiet, renewing emotions. The more quiet, renewing emotions could be joy, could be
Right.
fulfillment, or could be a feeling of encouragement, right? It could be a feeling of ano pa ba? Peace, a
Right.
feeling of calm. So they are more quiet
Quiet
emotions.
emotions.
They
Right.
will get you there. They will get you there, but it requires work.
Yeah. What I
They will.
noticed when you were telling me about that, I felt like it was an advice. I'm okay with finding light. It's easy for me to like connect to calm, to joy. But I really find it hard to actually notice quiet, depleting emotions. Because my
Mm,
tendency is I would numb myself. If some of this, parang it has been a habit when some some ups. I guess small emotions will be a feeling of being irritated or feeling of being
Mm-hmm.
upset. What
Mm-hmm.
I would do was I would because it helped me in the past, I would numb myself so I don't feel it. But what I see over time, that's a recurring pattern, is it overlaps the small depleting emotions, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
like being discouraged, feeling alone. Very, very little emotions. Nothing that it's not going to lead into depression. Very, like you said, quiet emotions. But if it like pag nagpatong-patong, it becomes one big thing and it can blow you over.
It
Well,
really
that's what I
does.
felt.
It really does. Physiologically, I also have a module for that in my workshop. Physiologically, it really accumulates. So all of those hormones that got
Yeah.
released during that stress reaction that you might have thought it's nothing, they accumulate in the
Yeah.
system. And in fact, these are emotions that we really need to pay attention to, because these are emotions that you might think are just normal and are nothing and are not really doing any real harm compared to the
Right.
strong ones like anger and frustration, but they accumulate in the body.
Yeah, and when it accumulates, it really wreaks havoc. Like at one point, I don't understand what's going on with me. I've been taking care of myself. Why is this happening? But again, because I wasn't paying attention. So you're saying that we should pay attention not only to renewing energies, but we also should pay attention if we have depleting energies. Because otherwise, it gets stuck in the body if we don't transform it and if we don't transmute it. So we should pay attention to two things, right? Renewing and depleting energies, and then learn to transform or enhance it more or use it more.
Yeah, that's correct. And over time, with a certain level of practice, I would say you will get used to when as the anger is still rising, as the discouragement is still rising, when you have more internal awareness, you easily notice it, then you're more able to transform it. And again, transforming is different from repressing or suppressing. No,
Yes, yes,
you're
yes.
transmuting it, you're transforming it.
And you say that this is usual, often in millennials. A lot of millennials that you met in your workshops often feel numb, cannot connect to emotions.
Yeah, that's very true. I noticed that many of them might also say that no, they don't really feel anger or frustration, but yes, they would feel maybe the feeling of being alone, or sometimes
Yeah.
just lacking emotional vibrancy. And when you numb these emotions, the depleting ones, you are also numbing the renewing ones, which is why if for a long time you have been numbing the feelings of worry, the feeling of fear, of discouragement or disappointment, it's really just a matter of time. It will show up. You might find one day that you have difficulty connecting with joy, with gratitude, with love. So
Um,
wala ka ng emotional vibrancy. You are numbing both.
right,
So there's no
right.
such thing as numbing the depleting alone. You're also numbing all of the renewing.
Wow, so it connects. You have to really feel. So what you're saying is you really have to feel your emotions. Whether it's depleting or renewing, you have to feel it. And then
Yes,
choose to transform it, right?
yes, we have to feel it, but at the same time work on increasing our internal awareness so that we don't also let it run on. Because if we let it run on, you use the term, it wreaks havoc in the body if you let it run on.
Yes,
So
that's true.
maybe in the beginning, you spend some time on it. As you get better with your practice, maybe you don't dwell on it much time on it anymore. Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's very, very interesting. And right now, people are going through some kind of anxiety, one way or another, because of the COVID situation.
Mhm.
Um, I was out this weekend. I was out in nature this weekend, and I just felt so happy that I felt free. But it's been like, oh my gosh, I've been cooped up at home for the longest time, and there's really this anxiety of being held, and even if it's still if it's my home. I mean, to be really honest, of course, people say stay at home and stay at home. That's how we help other people, but it's kind of constricting. To be very honest with you and to express emotions, it's kind of constricting to just always be at home. So
Mm.
what can you say to people who feel not so big emotions, not like anxiety and depression, but you feel constricted? And this is going on, Reha, for like a number of months. We've been cooped up in our own homes for the last 6 months. And it
Mm.
looks like we're not going out anytime soon.
They have to be transformed. Um,
Yeah.
apart from apart from regulating the emotion, no, apart from managing the stress, because it is a stress reaction. Even if the emotion is quiet, it's still a stress
Yeah.
reaction. We have to transform it, and to me, the gift of transforming it is we might also be given insights about what is it that we are being called to do given the
Yeah.
situation. What is it that we are being asked to do pertaining to the situation? No,
Yes.
um, what should be our priorities given the situation?
Mm.
Medyo deeper na siya, and I don't want the conversation to branch out, but to me
Yes.
there are so many lessons that we can harvest about the COVID-19 situation, that if we will be transforming these emotions and we will harvest the insights and the lessons, we might get the message of whether or not it's right and it's healthy and helpful for us to be continued to be stuck at home, for
Yeah.
the lockdowns to
How
continue
about yeah, how about you? How has heart math helped you deal with
in this
COVID at this
time.
time?
In
How
this
has
time,
heart math helped you deal with COVID?
you know, when the news broke out in March, and especially in April when it escalated, I was determined that fear and anxiety is not the way to go. I knew it.
Yeah.
So I didn't have I didn't have to deal with it. Um,
Yes, yes.
I, thankfully, I would say that I had that level of resilience already.
Yeah.
Um, that I knew, because I am aware what fear and anxiety does.
Yes.
When
Right.
even for just a brief reaction of anxiety and worry, no,
Yeah.
or uh, feeling of upset or frustration about it, the immune system weakens. So there is
Mm.
also a whole science behind it. I have a whole module for that. HeartMath has shown um, by how much your IgA, no, that
Yeah.
chemical in the saliva drops after a brief reaction of anger versus brief reaction of care and hope and
Yeah.
trust.
So
So
you
yeah,
yeah.
that's how it
So
has helped
tune
me.
into
I
renewing energies. You're saying we have to tune in. We have to tune into renewing energies still.
Yes, Ka. I would also say that uh, I have been prepared for it. Resilience in the heart math context is not just bouncing back or adapting, it is also being prepared for it. So, when you have a certain level of resilience, you are prepared for the unexpected. You are prepared for difficult situations. Not
Yeah.
that it will be perfect, it will never be perfect. There are times
Yeah.
when I fluctuate. There are times
Yes.
when like what I said, this just feels so ugly. But at the
Yeah.
least I am
Yeah.
choosing to really shift and renew.
Yeah. So it's about when we talk about opening the heart, it's what I get from you, what I understand from your sharing is that first we have to acknowledge the energies. Check if it's depleting, not just the renewing energies. Check if it's depleting, and if it's depleting, transmute it. If it's renewing, you can increase it. But to do that, the first thing really is to have awareness. No?
Yes, self awareness
Mm.
is really the first step. Otherwise, we will not
Mm.
notice it at all. There is no cue, right?
Yeah. You have to be aware. But sometimes people need a coach Lalo na if people are used to just numbing it out because it's that's my that's my coping mechanism. Because sometimes people are used to numbing emotions, or people do not notice emotions. Like people tend to distract themselves at the moment, but it's very important to be aware. And right now, if you're new to this, if it's something that you're very familiar with, if it's hard for you to notice, it would be best if you get a coach. Actually, Wang will have a workshop with us this Thursday. I'll just show everybody the workshop. It's the Resilience Advantage workshop. So that's it. Ayan. So Wang will personally teach you will give you exercises, how to um, go through the heart math approach, how to use heart math approach. When what exactly will they expect from this workshop?
Yeah, I will give a couple of exercises that is related to actually what you were saying kanina, no? I know we haven't talked about that, but
Yeah,
yeah, we will go through some exercises to identify the depleting and the renewing, and then I will introduce a technique that will help us, that can help us shift from depletion to renewal.
yeah. And I feel it's really, really important, especially now at the moment, with everybody's going through a lot of change. That's very important. So thank you so much, Wen, for opening your story to us, for sharing about heart math. This is very personal. It's so different from our first
The first interview.
conversation. Yeah, yeah. But thank you so much for opening your story to us and
My
opening the
pleasure.
message of heart math to us. Can you please lead us in a short meditation?
Okay, sige. This is a short heart math technique, and you can use this to expand it into a heart-based meditation. No? So yeah, this is just going to be probably around 3 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
perfect.
sige. So so just find your comfortable position, closing your eyes. I find it helpful when the shoulders are relaxed. No, the shoulder muscles, the back muscles are relaxed. That also allows you to open the chest very gently, and it allows you a very nice and smooth access to the heart. As I have mentioned, that we want the heart to send that message to the brain, telling the brain to listen, telling the brain that you are safe. To focus your attention in the area of the heart, you can put your hand on top of your heart area if that helps you focus. Imagine that your breath is flowing in and out of that heart area, breathing a little slower and deeper than usual. You can try to inhale for 4 to 5 seconds, exhale for 4 to 5 seconds, or whatever rhythm that is comfortable to you. Just make it slower and deeper, keeping that focus on the heart. Just take a few more breaths, breathing in and breathing out, slower and deeper, keeping that connection with the heart. Now try to re experience a renewing feeling. It could be gratitude, or love, or care, or joy for something or someone in your life. It can be for anything or anyone in your life. Remember that if the mind wanders, you just put it back to the heart, no judgment, and reactivate that feeling of gratitude or love or care or joy. And whenever you are ready, you can open your eyes.
Wow, thank you, Anne. You know what I'm grateful for is that I love this conversation because I'm the first one being helped. I know there are listeners out there, but I felt really enlightened, especially when you talk about um, energies connecting and noticing even depleting energies and not just renewing energies. And when you talk about sometimes when you don't notice the depleting energies, it makes it harder for you to connect to renewing energies. And this conversation helped me understand what I went through. Like I've gone around seriously when I went through some kind of anxiety attack. I went to all our healers. I went to the Reiki healer. I went to our pranic healer. I went to interactive hypnotherapist. I went to Father Loretta Hackey for creative expression. I went everywhere. And of course, it helped. Everybody helped me. But also, probably because my mind is very, in a way, scientific, I wanted to understand what exactly happened. And today, you taught me na parang, oh, the simple depleting energies, when it accumulates, it's stored in the body, and in one way or another, it might just explode. And that, like I said, it created havoc for me. So, for everyone watching and listening, I would really invite you to join Weng's workshop. Like if you love this 3 minute meditation, imagine like a full hour of exercises which will help you open your heart. So there. Final words for everybody, Wang. How will they open their hearts?
It's really by taking the time to connect with the self, give that time and keep trying. No matter how difficult it is, keep trying and be open to receiving help because sometimes we really need help. I myself also ask for help. There are people that I consider as mentors, and they have also helped me through difficult times.
Yeah. So there, please start with awareness and ask for help. That's what Gwen is saying. And you can see her again. This Thursday she has a workshop and you can attend the workshop so you can really go through the heart math exercises. Thank you so much, Gwen, for this very enlightening conversation. Thank you for opening your heart to us. Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
Dan. I'm so happy that we had this conversation. Thank you for receiving me, especially. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you everyone for watching and listening. So I guess that's Wang's message. Start noticing joy, start with self awareness, and there you go. You'll start opening your heart. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you,
See you
everyone. Bye
soon.
bye.
Bye.